Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. Hey, Summit hosts, Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software and your host on the Virtual Summit Podcast. We are in for a treat today. We are going to have some fun and we're going to learn some important summit knowledge. So stay tuned. This is going to be a really fundamental aspect that you're going to want to know. And it's all possible because we got legendary Monica Bijoux with us. How are you doing today, Monica?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am thrilled you're here with us. I cannot wait to dig into your summit and some of the lessons learned. But before we get into all that summit goodness, I would love for you to tell our audience just a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, so I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, hence the last name Bijoux, means jewel. So if you ever want to learn a French word, you just did. Because that's the only French word that I know. I basically have traveled the world. I've lived in different places in the States, California, New Mexico, Missouri. I call it Missouri, but Missouri. I've lived in overseas, South Korea, Germany, traveled a lot. And so I love to travel. I love adventure. I'm psychologically androgynous. So that means that I literally think like a woman and think like a guy. I like sports, but I also like to cook. I, like to do outdoor stuff, but I also like to crochet and stay at home. So that's a little bit about me.
I love that. That is probably one of the most interesting fun facts that anyone has told us on this podcast. So I love that, Monica. Thank you. And we've been in some of the same places. We both were chatting on our pre-chat. We're both big nerds over here. So get ready to have some fun with us, summit hosts. So Monica, let's dig into your summit. Okay. I'd love for you to give a little overview of what the summit was, who it was for. Give us a little background.
Yeah. So my summit, I stay true to my brand, Decide to Elevate. My business called Decide to Move, and it's a transformational model. Each letter it stands for something. But in my summit, I wanted to have something where people can get information on building their brand, how to be influential in their space, as well as how to elevate themselves. And so that was basically my summit. Was called Decide to Elevate, Build, Influence, and Empower. So empowering who they are. And so from there, I had speakers that, range from people who have made 7 and 8 figures to people who were just starting out, and people who really were true to what they do, as far as either they're specialized in branding or they're specialized in helping people make money, specialized in marketing. So it really was about giving something to my audience that they can actually take and then run with it and execute, because that's basically who I am. I'm all about educating, helping people get their mindset right, taking the action, and executing, giving them tangible things that they can actually do right away.
So with your with your summit, what was the purpose of it when you decided to do it? Was it to build a bigger or newer audience, or was it to serve a current audience? Like, how did you hear about it, and what did you decide on as far as the specific goal?
So I wanted both, actually. So when I decided to do my summit, I happened to be listening to another summit. I didn't really even know anything about a summit at all. And one of the girls that I had met at a live event was hosting a summit. So I was like, oh, I know her. Let me just listen to what she has to offer. And so in her summit, she had where you can get all the information to keep it by paying like $97. So you get the free gifts, and as well as, who likes, it really was for me $97. I was like, oh, I get gifts and I get to keep all this good nuggets and knowledge for $97. Hey, pretty cool. Well, one of the ladies that was on the summit ended up talking about like doing summits to TV, like having your own TV network. So I was more interested into the TV side of the house. So when I contacted her, she was like, hey, have you ever thought about doing a summit? And I was like, no. didn't really know how to start one, didn't know anything about doing a summit. And so she was like, told me a little bit about it. And I was like, I can do that. I mean, I like interviewing, I like talking to people. So let's do this. And so that's how I basically started. We picked a date around Christmas time, and went from there.
Virtual Summit's software makes hosting a summit easier than ever. The only software in the world designed specifically for hosting a summit lets you set up a summit in a matter of hours with no tech skill or team needed. You can try out the Virtual Summit's software free at virtualsummits.com. But hurry, this is a limited offer.
Well, I love that. This is an interesting concept. I want to dive into this. What was the summits to TV? Talk us through that process and what that was going to be.
Yeah, so I'm actually still in the process. So basically, Summit to TV is where you start off by, I did, they call it 4x5. So 4 days, I had 5 speakers each day. So they usually do it, that's how they kind of call it, like 4x4, like 4 speakers, 4 days. I did 4x5. I wanted 5 speakers over a 4-day period. And so from those recordings, it's done by video, just like this, podcast right now. It was done by video. And so I had, they did like the editing, had music added to it. It's like a full production. So once 90 days over for your summit, then you actually go into having a TV network with Ari Taub. And Ari has this big, huge TV production where it's kind of like if you have like Netflix and different things like that, where you can actually have your summit end up dripping one a week onto the TV network. So now not only do you have your summit, but you have all that information, that content that now can actually be part of your TV network as well. And that's something that I'm actually in the process of doing. With everything happening with COVID and stuff happening, I kind of took a pause from doing my TV network because I'm also doing my podcast. So for those that are doing podcast summits, they can actually take those videos and upload it on their TV network as well.
Oh, okay. So this is super interesting. We haven't talked about this before, so I'm going to keep diving into this.
Yes.
So with the summit, then, if you're planning on releasing this, as you are, for this TV network aspect, so you're getting 2 for 1 essentially at this.
Exactly.
So what goes into the preparation process of this to make it so that it can be used for both the summit and it's valuable and pertinent at that moment, but also reused on a completely different platform or scenario?
Yes, so I use Summit for when I did my summit. And what you want to do is you want to have your brand, like whatever your colors are. So I had a production person that was part of the team that I hired, and we like together looked at a photo. We edited, put the name of my summit, the logo and everything on there. We added music. You can go to Epic Sounds and get your music for free because it's royal free music. So you want to get music that is going to resonate with who you are for your summit. So you add your bumper, your front and your end with your graphics, your music added to that. And so you want to make sure that it's edited in a nice, clean fashion. So that way, once it's done and edited, you don't have to do anything else but just release it. You don't have to do any huge productions. Like I do my own podcast editing. I do mine through iMovie because I have a Mac. And it's the same thing. I have my intro, I have my outro, have my graphics that I add to it. I edit my video and then it's uploaded. So what's great about being pre-recorded too for your summit is that you can edit whenever you make mistakes or somebody else say something. Like I had a speaker that sneezed and, he had some stuff that was dripping. So I had to stop it in the middle and then let him, clean up and then continue recording. So that was some people like doing theirs live, but for me, that's when I saw that, it's probably good to have that pre-recording so that way you don't have to worry about doing so much editing later.
I like this. I've got a couple questions. I want to keep going on this concept though about the that you just mentioned, live versus pre-recorded. What are your other thoughts on benefits, pros and cons of the pre-recorded session versus the live stream session?
So with the live stream, you're allowed to interact with your audience right there. And that's the great thing. By me having it pre-recorded, I did have people, they were viewing it live, but I had to make sure myself as well as my production team was there, like responding to comments and different things like that. So they both are they both work where, as long as you're present and you just don't have it running and you're not there being attentive. The difference is your speakers are not able to respond and answer and ask questions. Like, I've been on a live summit as well as pre-recorded, and then for mine, I actually hosted a pre-recorded summit. The other thing is, when a lot of times your speakers are not available when you're wanting to do live. So that makes it a very inconvenient for them. Like, I also work as a full-time therapist as well during the daytime, besides having my business. So I myself could not always do the live recordings. To accommodate with my speakers. So what I did was, I did take some time off, and I used a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday, and I did 20 recordings in 4 days. Some days it was 6, 7 recordings, which made it easy for me to do interviews for anything else. So anytime somebody would say, "Hey, can you do an interview?" Like dropping a hat, no problem. When do you want me to show up, kind of thing. So it actually helped in other ways to have that pre-recording, and it allowed room for mistakes compared to being live. If you make a mistake, I mean, and making mistakes, I don't mean like sneezing and then your stuff is running, you're like, "Excuse me," and then people are waiting. That becomes an inconvenience by doing it live. So
No, I think these are really great points. There's pros and cons to both of them. I mean, when it comes to live streaming, like you just mentioned, the engagement is so great, but at the same time, there's a lot of risk involved if a speaker no shows, or, the technology goes down or something like that. You're going to have a lot of angry, your customer service response goes up. So I like it. I like to actually use primarily pre-recorded with some pre-planned live streaming components added in. But this is an amazing concept, and I'm glad everybody's being able to hear both sides of this. Now, I want to kind of circle back. I still have some more questions rolling around in my head about this TV network aspect. So you talked about how you did the post-production with the iMovie intro, outro on the front end. Did you need to keep the interview neutral in some way, or was it okay that it was about a summit as it's being released onto this TV network?
It's okay for it to be about a summit, because of the fact that, well, when you're interviewing, I did my introduction of saying I'm, decide to move, did my introduction, everything. But when it's releasing, people understand that it's a summit. Same thing when you're doing your podcast, because it's your TV network. And so you can actually go back in and re-edit those videos from the beginning and the end if you want to, because it becomes your TV network. You can do what you want to do. And it kind of gives you another avenue of having that advertisement and marketing yourself. And so I believe in really making sure that you show up in a lot of different avenues and finding the right platform that's good for you. I mean, I like TV. I mean, I'm just saying.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your virtual summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
I agree. I like it as well. No, that's why I'm so curious about this. So this is great. Okay, I was curious if we had to keep it neutral in order for it to go on there, but it's okay that it was a summit. Perfect. So let's keep kind of moving forward with your summit. What was something that you feel that was very successful or contributed, one of the main factors that contributed to the success of your summit?
I think having speakers that you connected with, being authentic, and people just feeling like they got value from what you had to say. I received information from people that I didn't even know that was telling me how great the summit was, and they appreciate the material that was provided and the educational, which was really nice. The other thing that I definitely want to say is that you want to make sure that your speakers, and this is something that I had to, that I if I can go back, I would correct. Ensuring that your speakers understand what their role is. So when you're doing a summit, the speaker's roles is to help market the summit. That's another piece. Now, I did have some that told me right in advance, "Hey, I can't really, market because of the fact that they have, I'm already promoting several different," or when I say market, I mean promote. Can't really promote the summit because I have other summits or other things that I'm promoting at the time. And because of their content and their value, I was just like, that's fine. I don't really care. But if you have ones, like I particularly had a speaker that was really focused on just herself. She wasn't really caring about the success of the summit. She didn't care about anything else but making sure that her name got out there. And it showed. It really showed, based on the audience response to her. And she kind of got upset because she wasn't considered one of the top three, because what Summit does when it's airing, people are able to vote and they're able to comment. And so when it came to the voting of the summits, it'll automatically, which I love about Summit, it automatically gave you the top three speakers for that day. And then it allowed a replay. And so people were able to go back in, and for those who signed up for it that couldn't, they can listen to it or hear the top three. And she wasn't. And she was like, well, who does the voting for this? And I mean, she was so bad. Even my production team was like, can we not like have her on the summit, right? And so that's one of the things that's huge and important, that you can actually choose after your summit if you want to use that person ever again. So
Oh, I love that. So what would you say is one of the most challenging aspects that you experience when putting together your summit?
from the beginning part was ensuring that your speakers, like, because I had somebody else starting the beginning part, the frustrating part for me was that people were not delivering what they said they wanted to do. My personality is that I'm pretty much organized in the fact that I'm not a micromanager, but I do want to know what's going on, because if my name is on it, it's going to have some type of, like, people know who you are. And so like I said, if my name's on it, I want people to know that she's going to come with authenticity, and have integrity. And so if I'm operating with people that don't have that same value, then I'm going to have to do some cutting some ties. And so one of the things is that I wanted my speakers to really know that I have their best interest at heart. And so I end up reaching out to my speakers myself, compared to letting other people doing the contact. So that was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I can see how that would definitely play into that and cause some challenges. When it comes to the aspect of selecting speakers, reaching out to speakers, was there anything that you found, like maybe any tips or strategies or suggestions you have for our summit hosts as they're getting ready to start researching and reaching out to speakers?
One of the things that I found when I hosted my summit, I had one speaker that ended up asking me, can he be on my summit? He said he wanted to support me. And I was like, oh, great. And then he ended up recommending a couple other people that he knew that were in my wheelhouse. So when people understand, and they all ask, what is your purpose? What's your mission? Like, what do you want to get out of the summit? Who's your audience? And then from there, they came up and picked their topics surrounding what you're speaking on. And so I would say that kind of do your research. Really, one, be very clear of who you're serving and what you want to get out of your summit. And then understand what your speakers are. And so you can do it in groups, like look at other people's summits. Like your podcast, you actually do a really good job of giving them strategies and different things like that, of where they can find their speakers and stuff like that. They have places called like Matchmaker, where they actually match podcast hosts as well as guests, but they also do the same thing with summits. And so you can say, hey, I'm having a virtual summit. Anyone who's been on a summit before, if you're interested, and then do a quick interest call if you want to, so that way you can vet some of your speakers to know where they're coming from.
That's so good. It's also one of the things that right there I love about our software, the Virtual Summit software, is that it has a matchmaker feature automatically built in for hosts and speakers on there, because it is a challenge. It's a challenge for Summit hosts a lot of times to find quality speakers as well. Now, I want to circle back to the situation you were talking about with that speaker. What would you recommend for other summit hosts if they're getting started, and they're probably, somebody out there is going to have a complication with a speaker, or maybe a speaker that's not living up to what they promised or said they would do? What feedback, what suggestions or advice would you give them?
So what I would recommend, well, first, always have extra speakers than what you need. So that way, especially if you're doing pre-recording, or even if you're not. So let me go back to the live part. Even if you're doing live, you still want to have pre-recorded sessions, because of the fact that if a person doesn't show up, you can show the pre-recording, and then you just show up and you're live and saying, we're going to watch this pre-recording. So it kind of does double work when you're running a live event. For me, it's double work compared to just already having it pre-recorded. When you do have that, and because she gave good content, I went ahead and let her portion run, but I will never personally work with this person again. So after she did her interview, that's when she really showed a lot of her daggers, as well as right before her show was getting ready to air. I sent each one of the speakers like a response and letting them know, just letting reminding you your show is going to be airing tomorrow at this particular time. I noticed that you didn't send out any of your emails, because with Hey Summit, it does all that for you. It sends out the emails, it sends out the invite, the speaker goes in, it updates their information. It automatically lets them know, hey, this is your speaker portal, just go in, update your information. So if you have a speaker, and I would say, if you have a speaker that is not living up to what they are promising, then it's okay to tell them, appreciate you, but I'm not going to be able to use you on this particular event, and then replace them with someone else. Because remember, this is your event and you don't have to be desperate. There's a lot of people out there that's willing to support you and help you with your summit, honestly.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
Yes, that is very true. I love that advice right there. Now let's end the last little bit of this episode. I'd love to talk about a little bit into your specialty with the branding and elevating. What's some suggestions or tips, or maybe even something that you see common summit hosts doing incorrectly when it comes to the branding or positioning of their summits?
A lot of them are not true to who they are, their brand. Like if you want your summit to be a part of your visibility. It helps with your credibility. It also helps with your authority. Honestly, anytime you're showing up, those three things you want to have. You want to show your authority, you want to show credibility, and you want to show visibility. And so if your stuff is not matching, people are like, well, one day she's purple, the next day she's green. Well, what does she or he stand for? Like, what are they doing? That, I mean, I'm a Southern girl, so I like grits. I mean, so am I eating grits or I'm eating oatmeal? I'm sorry, they're both totally two different things. And if I tell a person I'm serving grits and I give them a bowl of oatmeal, they're like, where are you from? Kind of thing. This is not, or like I make gumbo. Like my dad used to joke, he had a neighbor that would he called it guru soup. This is not gumbo. I mean, like, what is this kind of thing? And so you want to make sure your stuff is true to who you are. Your colors, even if it doesn't have to have your exact same thing, but have your colors matching, have a similarity in what you do. And so when people see you show up, they're like, okay, I know who that person is. Think about McDonald's. Every time you see those golden arches, they don't even have to say the word McDonald's, you know that it's McDonald's. So you want to do the exact same thing. You want to show up, and everything that you put out, make sure that there's some consistency in what you do.
Such good advice. Thank you so much for that, Monica. Now, I know some of our audience right now is going, Mark, how can I get in touch with Monica? Where's she hanging out at? So let everybody know the best way to get in touch with you.
Most definitely. So my company is called Decide to Move. So I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Decide to Move. You can also find me on Facebook under my name, monica.m.bijoux, B-I-J-O-U-X. I also have a group called Confident Professional Women's Circle. We're in the process of changing some names. In fact, I'm doing a contest of whoever comes up with the best name for the group can basically win a prize, because I'm all about helping women as well as men, because I have a lot of men that connect with me, but really learn how to be visible, how to have authority in their actual location, and as well as how to just show up and just be authentic. And so because of that, and collaborate and networking, to me, there's enough room for all of us. We don't have to fight about it. So you can find me on all the different platforms, and my website is www.decidetomove.com. And on there, you can also find my podcast as well.
Excellent. We'll make sure we link to all of those over in the show notes as well. So as we wrap this up, Monica, I'd love for you to leave our summit hosts with one final parting piece of wisdom.
Yes, so I always say to people, you can be a product of your environment or a fruit of your labor. You decide, and I always say, decide to move. You don't have to let your past or things that you've been through dictate who you are and where you go.
So good. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
Absolutely. And thank you, all you Summit hosts, for hanging out with Monica and I. I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, your host here on the Virtual Summit Podcast. Don't forget to go check out all of these amazing goodies and links to everything Monica has just shared with us over in the show notes at podcast.virtualsummits.com/153. And don't forget, your message matters. So go out there and make an impact in the world. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit Podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.